It's a very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Arab Affairs, our show bringing you all the latest news and events happening in the Arab region. I'm Angie Meher joining you for today's edition of the program, and as usual we begin straight away with a look at some of the news making the headlines. We move to the Israeli occupation forces that have launched a ground offensive in Gaza City, expanding their operations as rescuers have reported at least 60 people killed across the Palestinian territory and wounded over 160 in the last 24 hours. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a report on the latest developments in the offensive in Gaza City. The Israeli occupation strikes killed more than a dozen people in the Gaza Strip as Israel sent more ground troops into the Palestinian territory to ramp up its offensive against Hamas. The Civil Defense Agency said Israeli military operations across Gaza killed at least 60 people and wounded 160 others in the last 24 hours. A medical source at the southern city's Nasser hospital said a single strike on Khan Yunis killed at least 25 people. Earlier, an Israeli strike hit a school used as a shelter for displaced Palestinians in the Gaza City area, reporting at least 31 killed, including several children. The attack came a day after Israeli strikes killed at least 100 Palestinians, with hundreds more having died in the last 2 weeks. Israel's occupation military had issued sweeping evacuation orders for parts of northern Gaza before expected ground operations. The UN Humanitarian Office said around 280,000 Palestinians have been displaced since Israel ended the ceasefire with Hamas last month. In recent days, Israel has vowed to seize large parts of the Palestinian territory. To pressure Hamas, Israel has imposed a month-long blockade on food, fuel and humanitarian aid that has left civilians facing acute shortages as supplies dwindle, a tactic that rights groups say is a war crime. Meanwhile, Hamas's armed wing, the Izz-ad-Din al-Qassam brigades, warned that the offensive was putting hostages' lives at risk. The US-based Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project reported that there were over 300 airstrike events during the last 10 days, nearly 10 times the number recorded in February. Health Ministry in Gaza said 1,249 people had been killed since Israel resumed intense bombing last month, bringing the overall death toll since the war began to over 50,609 people. Health Ministry says more than half of this number killed were women and children. The war has left most of Gaza in ruins and at its height displaced around 90% of the population. Back, ladies and gentlemen, we're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by His Excellency Ambassador Hussein Hareedy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. It's a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, madam.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your time. Now, Mr. Ambassador, the Israeli occupation strikes have killed more than a dozen people in Gaza, and Israel has continued to send more ground troops into the Palestinian territory to ramp up further pressure, and we've seen reports that at least 60 people have died and over 160 have been wounded just in the last 24 hours. How do you see the current situation and the escalation in the Gaza Strip, Your Excellency?
Well, I guess Israel has declared an all-out war,
yes,
not only on the Palestinians but on the Levant as a whole, on the Lebanese, on the Syrians, on the Palestinians. And they have enjoyed the full support of the Trump administration, and this is one of the reasons why they are on this, what I call an unprecedented killing spree of Palestinians and Arabs on the part of the Israelis.
Absolutely. Indeed, Your Excellency. To pressure Hamas, Israel has continued to impose blockades on food, fuel and humanitarian aid, which has left the civilians facing acute shortages as supplies, of course, continue to dwindle. A tactic that all the rights groups all around the world has said is a war crime. How do you see this, Your Excellency, and where is the international community's response?
Well, for the last 16 or 17 months, the international community has been silent. And I don't expect the international community, whatever you mean by the international community, to take bold actions against Israel. We have seen lately, 3 days ago, Hungary withdrew from the International Criminal Court while receiving the Israeli Prime Minister, who the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against him. And the Hungarian government and the Hungarian Prime Minister invited him and told him that he could visit Hungary and he won't risk arrest. And as a matter of fact, the decision to withdraw from the court happened the same day that the Israeli Prime Minister set foot in Hungary. So I wish that we in Asia stop calling on the international, between commas, the international community to take action, because I doubt very much, personally speaking, that the international community, and as I said, whatever you mean by it, any action against Israel. Otherwise, Israel would have stopped its genocide against the Palestinians a long time ago. So let's put the international community on the sidelines now. As far as the Hamas is concerned, I guess the Israelis are using Hamas as a scapegoat. They have a plan. They have a plan that has the full backing of the American administration, and they are carrying out this plan on the ground. And of course, the ultimate aim of the Israelis, as far as I'm concerned, is really to force the Palestinians to leave their territories.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. Now, Mr. Ambassador, the Israeli occupation military has issued sweeping evacuation orders for parts of northern Gaza before further ground operations. And the response by Hamas has been that this is also dangerous, not just for the citizens of the area, but also for the hostages themselves. There's been pressure exerted to protect whatever hostages remain. How do you see this, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, to begin with, I don't think that the Israeli government or the Israeli Prime Minister has ever cared about the hostages. Otherwise, he would have stopped this war long time ago, and the hostages would have been freed by now. Not only that, but many of the hostages who died in captivity would still be living today. But so from the beginning, it was quite obvious, quite clear that this Israeli government doesn't care about the hostages. Although, of course, they said one of the aims of their war is to free all the hostages. But as a matter of fact, that hasn't happened. And you may recall that there was a truce, the first truce in after October 2023 was in November 2023, and for 1 week. And in this truce, some hostages were freed. There was respect for a limited ceasefire, and the mediators tried to extend this ceasefire, but the Israeli government declined. And ever since, and in last January, there was another ceasefire agreement, and on 3 stages. The first stage was, of course, Israel complied with the first stage, and 33 hostages were freed. But after that, they violated it. They violated it by resuming fighting. They violated it by closing all the crossings between Gaza and the outside world, and by preventing prohibiting any medical and assistance entering the Gaza Strip. So the Gaza Strip has been under an unprecedented closure. orders of closure from now almost 1 month.
Yes.
And that month coincided with the month of Ramadan and with the 3 days of the feast of the Eid. So we are dealing with a pariah state. Israel is a pariah state. We are dealing with a pariah state. And I'm afraid that this genocide would continue.
Right, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that, Your Excellency. Ambassador Hussein Hareedy, former Assistant to Foreign Minister, thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insight and for joining us this afternoon on Arab Affairs. And still, we continue with more news regarding the developments where the Israeli occupation has killed the commander of the Palestinian group Hamas in a pre-dawn strike in the Lebanese port city. It has also killed his adult son and his daughter. We have more details. Palestinian group Hamas in an airstrike on southern Lebanon, further testing a ceasefire that halted last year's war between Israel and Lebanese group Hezbollah. Israeli occupation's military said the targeted commander, Hassan Farhat, was behind a rocket attack on the city last year that killed and wounded several Israeli soldiers. Security source said Farhat was killed along with his son and daughter in the strike in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah condemned the strike in a statement, saying that the targeting was evidence of the enemy's intention to expand the scope of its aggression and target all of Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam's office said Israeli occupation's attack was a clear violation of a U.S.-backed ceasefire. Hezbollah launched a campaign of cross-border strikes on Israel in solidarity with the Palestinian group in 2023. Israel responded with a major air and ground campaign in Lebanon last year that killed scores of Lebanese civilians. Ceasefire agreed in November has appeared increasingly precarious in recent weeks, with Israel striking the Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs of Beirut twice. Hezbollah also accused the ceasefire sponsors, led by the U.S., of overlooking the Israeli attacks.